What's going on, people? Welcome back to another Get It Bucket podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. As always, I'm joined by my guy, Kev. What's up, Kevo?
What's good, man? It's always got to be back. Got to get it started. Got to get it rocking, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Both our teams took some L's this weekend. You guys lost at the buzzer. My team got trampled at the end of the game. So interesting weekend for us. But it, I know my team had a lot of stuff that happened this weekend, but that was more of like the after effects. It's not going to affect our chances to getting, it's not going to affect our seeding so much or whether we get it or not because we're in. But your team, Sparty, Michigan State, East Lansing. Every week every time we do it, we're like, Sparty gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. Every time I'm like, God, they're gonna be all right. I mean, this is the team I picked to go to national championship too. Gonna be all right. Gonna be all right. Gonna be all right. Kev, it's not all right no more. It ain't gonna be all right. It's not gonna be all right. Buzzer beater loss to the Buckeyes of all teams too. The Buckeyes. That stings even more when it's a rival and all that.
Yep.
Things just haven't gone right this year. It just feels like we're so accustomed to you guys just figure. I mean, you're a Miami Heat fan, so you kind of know, like, your team just knows how to figure it out. But obviously, in college, it's different. You gotta
It's
accumulate
not every two
wins.
games.
You can't have that same mindset where like Miami does. It's like no.
No.
We got to win games. We got to get in because that's we get judged off that. It's not like we seeding. No, we got to win games so a committee can get us in and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't been a crisp year. It has been very up and down, but like I said, including myself, and I'm sure you and others, they'll figure it out. They'll get it together, Sparty. And a tough loss, buzzer beater against Ohio State. And then you got Purdue next, and we know Purdue is Purdue. And
Yep.
you cap it off with Northwestern, and say, but he could cook y'all, and he has cooked y'all in the past. And then you finish it off with an Indiana team that you might get the version we thought we might get the beginning of the year, before the season, or you might get the version that's up and down and all that. So to finish off the season, but a lot has gone, a lot has transpired, with the team, and now you were on the bubble, and now you're even more on the bubble and all that, and it's weird. It's a weird feeling, I'm sure, but what's going on with sport? We've talked about this, but we've always felt like we figure it out. But it it's March. It's damn near March. We got one more day till it's March, and it's like, all right, a couple more games left in conference play. Then we go to conference tournament play, and it's like, man, it at this point, it's like, we gotta we might have to get to the finals at least. So, and I know and to get to, I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously Izzo, we know Grizzle's a great coach and all that. We know his accolades and all that. He's a champion. But it has been a minute since he has won a championship, though. And it feels like a lot of moves he's made hasn't hit and all that. So I want to get your thoughts on this season right now and the future. Because, like I said, I thought national championship. Like, I thought, and kind of how I felt about, like, Duke right now. Like, even though we're in a good spot, looking outside, I still have my worries about and all that. But we both teams came in with a lot of good returning players and all that. Accumulate some good freshmen, you put in there, and but obviously you guys haven't had success. So for you, what's been the biggest issue this season, and is this something that you should be worried about going forward with Izzo still there and all that, or is this just one of them years? Just, hey man, it's just nothing just went right for us.
Whew, where do I even start? So I'll start off by saying that you mentioned our ending schedule again. We got to go to Mackey Arena this Sunday, which of course is going to be tough. We haven't won there since I think 2014, which was Gary Harris's sophomore year, I want to say.
Oh
And
my
then
goodness.
we play against Northwestern, and then Indiana. They beat Wisconsin today at Indiana, so that's not going to be an easy
That's what I'm
game
saying.
at all. So to me, it's a few different factors, right? The first one being the past few years, we've lost a good majority of our coaching staff. We've had a lot of coaching staff turnover, right? We had Dwayne Stevens leave for Western Michigan. We had Dane Fife leave for Indiana. He got fired from there not too long ago. And then we had the OG Mike Garland just retire. Nothing wrong with that. Happy for him. He deserved it. He was with Izzo for a long time, right? So you had that. So now you have Mark Montgomery, you have Doug Wojcik, and you have Thomas Kelly. So you have a whole new coaching staff. They're familiar with the system. They've been in the system before, but it's still a lot to deal with, right? And so you have that. Then you have Izzo's unwillingness to deal with the transfer portal, which is a major thing because I looked at it the other day when the AP Top 25 dropped yesterday. Every team in the top 10 outside of your Duke Blue Devils and Marquette have a major transfer player on their team. Every single one of them. Every single one of them, whether it's Arizona, Tennessee, UConn, the list goes on, right? Houston, you can keep going. They all have some type of instant impact transfer type player. And the craziest thing about it is Michigan State's two best players the last 3 to 4 seasons have both been transfers. Tyson Walker from Northeastern and Joey Hauser from Marquette. So Izzo knows how to identify talent because the guys that he swung and missed on in the portal have actually been really good at their current destinations too, between Micah Parrish at San Diego State, who played in the national championship game last year, and Jalen Bridges, who at Baylor. You can make a case he's the most important player on Baylor's team this year,
Yeah.
right? So he knows, and the staff knows how to identify talent, but it's all about reeling in and actually getting that talent. And NIL is not an issue whatsoever. So my saving grace with Izzo is this. I think this season is going to be the season where he figures out, okay, this is just the landscape of college basketball, not just college basketball, college athletics as a whole. Every single sport, the transfer portal is a major thing. It's a major player right now. So you have to use it, whether it's college football, college basketball. I'm sure it happens in baseball, whatever. The portal is just a major factor. And so I think that's the first thing. The second thing is because you were willing to die on the hill of not going out and acquiring transfer talent, that means because you're not doing that, you have to develop at a high level. As I mentioned, the only team that doesn't have a major transfer impact in the top 10 right now is your Duke Blue Devils, who are an anomaly because they get the top talent, and Marquette. Shaka Smart has done a great job at identifying talent, bringing in those dudes, and elevating them. And that's just the facts of the matter. Even Tyler Kolek was a transfer. So with that, those are two things. And with this team, though, right now, we have literally zero production from our big men. I hate to say it. I hate to point out names, but between Mady Sissoko, Carson Cooper, I'll give Jackson Kohler some leniency just because he's coming off an injury, so he's still trying to get into the thick of things. But the first two guys I named, they haven't gotten any better. And Dwayne Stevens was a major factor when it came to developing our big men, whether it was Draymond, whether it was Xavier Tillman, whether it was anybody, Adrian Payne, RIP, right? We've had really good big men. And the big men we have on our roster right now, they're just not Michigan State big men, if I'm being honest with you. And I hate to point out Mady because Mady Sissoko didn't play his freshman and the sophomore seasons at all. He only had to play last year because he was our only true big man that had some type of college basketball experience. And in our best lineups, if I'm just being honest, if you go back and watch the K-State game last year in the Sweet 16, our best lineup was AJ Hogarth, Tyson Walker, Jaden Akins, Malik Hall, and Joey Hauser. That's what we beat Marquette with. And so that's the first issue. And because we're not getting no production out of our big men, it forces our top four guys to be good. Our top four is AJ Hogarth, Tyson Walker, Jaden Akins, and Malik Hall. And to be fair, Malik Hall has been dominant recently. He's playing the best basketball of his career, in my opinion. He struggled in the past two games versus Iowa and Ohio State, but for the most part, he's been really good. And Tyson Walker, I'm giving some grace to because he's dealing with a groin injury. Groin injuries are very, very tough. It's not something that you can just get over. It's something you have to deal with, which is unfortunate, especially for a guy at his size that has to deal with contact, that has the pressure of being the number one option on the team, right? So he's dealing with a lot. And I'm hoping that he starts to get healthy, throughout the course of this week while we have this break that we're on in between games. And so I say all that to say is that I think this is going to be one of those moments where literally it all goes bad. And because it all goes bad, people finally start to look in the mirror, whether it be the players, whether it be the coaches, whoever it needs to be. I think people around the program are finally going to get to Izzo and just be like, hey, the reason you've been able to be around as long as you have is because you've been able to adapt. You've been able to adjust over time. You don't make it 20 some odd years without being able to adjust and adapt. And now I can make the case that with the portal and NIL, this might be the greatest hurdle that Tom Izzo is going to have to leap over. And honestly, I think this is the season that, regardless of what the outcome is, he realizes, okay, I just got to go in the portal. It's that simple because, again, you put a lot of pressure on your guards. You don't have a low post threat in the Big Ten, the conference that consistently has the best big men in the country, in my opinion. That's no bias at all, right? Because they love to play through the post, whether it be Zach Edey, you had Hunter Dickinson last year, you had Trey Jackson Davis last year, you got Big Cliff at Rutgers, you got Dawson Garcia's been really good, Rink Mask at Nebraska's been dominant this year, and we're getting no production out of that. I'm not looking forward to seeing what Zach Edey's about to do to us on Sunday. So I say all that to say, I'm not going to leave our guards out of this either because they have to be better too. AJ Hogarth, Jaden Akins, they have to be better. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I'll finish off by saying this. Another thing we haven't had, and I can say this about your Duke Blue Devils too, but I'm going to just stick with Michigan State, is that we haven't had a true wing, a 6'5", 6'6", 6'7" wing that can score, put the ball on the floor, defend at a high level, make plays for himself since Max Christie. Max Christie's been gone since 2022 technically, was when he left for the NBA. And so that's been 2 years. So it's not like it's been a humongous drought, but look around the country. Every wing that we played in this season so far has dominated us. Whether it was AJ Storr, whether it was Dalton Connect, whether it was Cam Christie, right? The list goes on and on and on. Terrence Shannon, Marcus Damask, right? And that's one of the pillars of our program. Going back, way, way back, right? We've had Steve Smith. We've had Mo Pete. We've had a whole bunch of dogs on that side of the ball when it comes to big time wings. Jay Rich, the list goes on. I can keep going on for hours. Aaron Henry, Max Christie, right? It does not end at all. And we just have not had that. So in this offseason, Izzo's going to have to get a big man because the one thing we'll never have to worry about is guard play. We're always going to have guards. Guards is never a concern. We have guards to feed families. We have guards to give to other teams if we wanted to. Right?
Even the guards that are going to be playing next year are going to be good.
Exactly. That's why I'm not worried about it, especially because, and this is where I'll wrap up at. The saving grace is that I firmly believe that Jeremy Fears is a point guard that when he starts to fully get acclimated to college basketball, he can be a point guard that can lead you to a national championship. Obviously, he had the setback this year, which was super tragic with the whole shooting thing. But when he gets back and when he starts to firmly get in, I truly believe he is like Izzo's twin in the sense like Izzo's complimented him, said he reminds him of Mateen Cleave so much, and he doesn't throw that out just to anybody, right? And so that tells me everything I need to know. And so his job before he retires for the next few years is get all the necessary pieces around Jeremy Fears. You have some already. You have Cohen Carr, you have Xavier Booker, you have Trey Holloman. So you have a good nucleus to move on with. But at the end of the day, you just got to hit the portal. And for the rest of this season, I'll just say that we have to win 2 of these 3 last games in the Big Ten regular season conference play. We have to win versus Northwestern, and we have to win versus Indiana to truly solidify our spot in the NCAA tournament and probably win a game or 2 in the Big Ten tournament.
So let's say, let's put the worst outcome. Let's say the worst of the worst, and lose out, get bounced in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. Is there? It's hard to say that Coach Izzo's on the hot seat or something like that, but is there talks? Or do you think there would be some like, hey, maybe the game is past them? Because look at a lot of these. We've seen a lot throughout the last few years. A lot of big name coaches. Roy's out, Coach K's out. Jay Wright's out. A lot of big name coaches who have won championships are out.
Mm-hmm.
Is it something that we got to be like, man, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time that we think about. Now we think because it hasn't really been a thought. Now it's like, oh man, after a season where we were supposed to be a Final Four team at worst, we not even a tournament team possibly. Do you think about, hey, maybe it's time to think about the future and not, who's gonna be the next guy possibly? Is that something that possibly thought about this season?
Definitely. I mean, me personally, I haven't, just because Izzo's at that point where he's going to leave on his own time.
Of
And
course.
I do respect him because he is one of those guys that wants to fight through this, right? He doesn't want to retire. He wants to keep going for as long as he possibly can. He said that on multiple occasions. He said that in the game versus Iowa. He said the same thing. Fran McCaffrey said the same thing. So I think, again, it's just all about adjusting to this new landscape. It's different. It's new. Guys are getting paid, right? The portal is super prevalent. Again, you look at Cam Spencer at UConn. You look at Dalton Connect at Tennessee. You look at AJ Storr at Wisconsin. You look at LJ Cryer went crazy today versus Cincinnati, right? It's transfers everywhere. You just have
Caleb,
to
man.
adapt.
Caleb,
Yeah.
man, that's a
And
lot.
you don't even necessarily have to build your roster 13 dudes deep from the portal like Eric Musselman does at Arkansas, right? You just have to be able to recruit at a high level, and then you use the portal to piece in the rest of your roster like UConn did, like Houston did. That's what you have to do, like Purdue did with Lance Jones, right? That's what you must do. And so for Izzo, I definitely think people around the program are going to definitely weigh the options of it. Do I think it's going to pull through? No. But again, he'll be 70 next year. He'll be 70 this time next year. So he's up there. He only has a few years left. And that's the thing that is killing me is that he's only going to have this last championship run left, this last window left. The last person that should be able to get in his way is Tom Izzo himself. You can't let that happen. You just can't. Nobody should be able to get in your way. And again, it should not be you. If anybody's going to be in your way, do not let it be your own self, right? And so that's my biggest thing is that you just have to be willing, bro. It's a new day and age. And yes, coaches have gone. Roy Williams is gone. Coach K is gone. Jay Wright is gone. It's coaches right now in other schools across the country that we'll probably talk about within the next few months that are going to randomly retire. Right? It's a whole different ball game. And so I'm not ready to get that far yet. I do have some candidates for when the job does open up, but you got to think about the future sometimes. But at the end of the day, I'm rocking with Coach Izzo. But again, it's so simple, bro. You just have to go into the portal. Your best player on your team right now came via the transfer portal. Tyson Walker was at Northeastern. He could have went to any school in the country. Kansas was recruiting him. Texas was recruiting him. Maryland was recruiting him. He could have went anywhere, but he chose to go to Michigan State. So that should say enough right there already. Same thing with Joey Hauser at the time. He was down to Virginia and he was down to Michigan State, right? His brother went to Virginia. He went to Michigan State. It worked out in our favor. So it's all on Izzo, man. That's all I can really say about it. It's all on how Tom Izzo goes out. Literally, what's the saying? You either live long enough to see yourself become the villain or you die here or whatever it is. Y'all know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
ain't trying to get all
yeah,
deep
yeah. I
and
know what
stuff,
you're
but
saying. Yeah.
that's literally where we're at right now. So we'll see, man.
Yeah, no, it's just crazy because, like I said, like we said before, like this was a more than any other year for Michigan State. It was like, man, we could win it all. Like it was legit that mindset and all that. And obviously, it's definitely disappointing. And now it's like, all right, is the end near? Because yeah, he's 70 years old, and like I'm sure the new landscape of college basketball. Being a college basketball coach is already a stressful job as is before all that. Now you add on this, and he's seen his peers, leave, and even guys who are younger, Jay Wright and all that, younger guys, retire and all that. It's like, hey, so I think it'll be interesting. Let's see how you guys go out. I think he ain't gonna go out like that. Like, and he's gonna go on his terms too. Like he's obviously he's having a cat. He's had enough. He's done enough at Michigan State where he goes all on his like Roy and Coach K and Jay. They go on their terms.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to go, I'll go. And then they'll make sure they leave the program in the right, like the other coaches did. They've had their successors, lined up. And, I'm sure that's what he's thinking about too. But we'll see. There's still old people that can adjust. And he doesn't feel like he's not, not keen on that. I think he does. He just got to figure out how to do it the right way. Because it felt like he did. Like he got, like you said, got some good some good. Booker was a highly touted freshman. He did balanced it out, and that's what you want in college. You wanted a balance, and it felt like that. That's why we liked Michigan State. That's why we like Duke, because there was such balance, but hasn't gone away. Obviously playing the Big Ten is a dogfight. But you still have these 3 games. And you upset Purdue. and you win three in a row, and then you have a nice showing in the Big Ten tournament, and then it's like, all right, there, he's back, and then you just get in, and you get in, and then we know what can happen. So we'll see what happens, but it's definitely we'll see. It's definitely interesting times in Sparty Town and all that, because now it's like, oh man, we've been had coach for a while and all that, so we'll see what happens. But since we start talking Sparty, and we'll talk about my team, we'll talk about Duke. They had a tough loss. Obviously, a lot of the talk is not essentially about the game itself. It was about Kyle and the storming of the court and all that stuff and all that. And we don't got to get deep in that. My feelings are my feelings about the storming of the court. And one thing is like, all right, I could admit my team doesn't storm the court and all that. So maybe because I've been entrenched in the non-storm and watching the non-storm. Sparty don't do it either. Yeah. I think feel like there's certain programs they're just above that.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's times you could storm the court and all. It always feels like no matter Wake Forest, they're in the tournament. You don't need to storm the court. Like there's levels to this. If you were 3-20, you could storm the court. Go ahead. Let the players get off, and then you can storm the court. But if you 19-8 and you favored to beat Duke too, I think they were 2.5-point favorites. You can't be favorites in the game and then storm the court. I know it's Duke, but whatever. But they lose to Wake Forest, and it was kind of the same feelings I've had of all year with this team. It's like it's Kyle, and then Kyle is just doing too much and all that, and just the lack of size. I think is gonna, and then just I just Proctor up and down again and all that. And like I said, not having that wing. I know Mark has been better. He's been better.
Yeah.
But he's just a tweener. He doesn't give us that outside, that perimeter shooting that we kind of need. And McCain, didn't have the greatest game, but he was solid. He's going to do what he does. But, we won a nice streak. I'm not going to complain too much about it because Wake is a good team. And Hunter Salas is a dude. He's a hooper. So I'm not going to get too mad about it. But it's just something that I think I could trip us up in the tourney is when you have a guy like Hunter Salas that could take over, and you just don't have enough size and all that. So nothing too crazy with Duke and all that. I think they'll be all right. They're gonna be a high seed and all that, but I'm not gonna trip too much about this loss. Like I said, Wake is better than what the court storming shows and all that, but I think they're right. Hunter Salas is that dude too. Like he went off. Like we got 31 or whatever. Like he couldn't contain him and all that. And so this guy do a better job at that. But any thoughts, on Duke and the game versus Wake Forest?
I'm not worried about y'all whatsoever, right? Because Flip is going to be Flip, as you mentioned. Jeremy Roach is going to give you something for the most part, right? He's only had a couple down games this year. And then the biggest thing is, again, that boy Jerry McCain been cooking, right? He's been playing at a much higher level. His confidence is through the roof right now. He's balling. I think him finding his niche at this point in time is a major factor for you guys. On top of, again, like you just mentioned, Mark Mitchell starting to play better. So the defense is picked up, right? Still don't really have a rim protector. Still don't have that big wing. You're not going to get it. But for the most part, I think with what they have, they've done a great job at that. And for Wake Forest, I mean, you hit it. Hunter Salas had the game of his life. He was torching. They were trailing, I believe, at halftime. And in that second half, them first 5 minutes, it felt like everything Hunter Salas put up was good. Mm-hmm. From three, from the mid-range, getting to the rack. He's a big-time defender, too. He's going to be in the NBA. He is. It was the reason he was a five-star talent. I know he had the stint at Gonzaga where it didn't look too pretty, but again, this is another testament to that transfer portal. You can go in and find talent. And Steve Forbes, I got to give him credit. He's done a great job at finding transfer additions, whether it was Jake LaRavia, whether it was Alondes Williams, this year with Hunter Salas and Efton Reed and Boopy Miller. That team is really good. And I feel like, to me, they were an NCAA tournament team, regardless if they won this game or not. I know the computers doesn't love them because they're in the ACC, whatever. The metric doesn't favor them. But Wake Forest is an NCAA tournament team, no doubt about it in my mind. I'm glad they got this win because I think that kind of stamped their ticket into it. And so big salute to Steve Forbes, his entire coaching staff, all of the Wake Forest fans out there, not the ones that stormed the court and were doing stupid stuff, but everybody else. And again, just credit to Hunter Salas, bro, because what he did, that display was a pure hoop display, a pure hoop show, in my opinion. So thought it was a great
Yeah.
win for the Demon Deacons.
Yeah, Andrew Carr cooked us too, man.
Yes.
They're a well balanced team
Mm-hmm.
and all that, and that's what killed us. And efficient from outside. I feel like we were taking too many 3-pointers and all that. Kind of felt like the old kind of Duke teams that rely on the 3-pointer, and it kind of felt like we were just trying to, because it was a tight game,
Yep.
and you definitely felt this was a big game field, and some guys just trying to be heroes and not too much of that and all that, but you know uh just didn't play enough good defense, and like I said, no rim protect. That's going to be their downfall. If they do get bounced, it's someone they're going to play a big, and then it's going to be tough. Hopefully Kyle's good. He should be good. I know he messed up his knee a little bit, so hopefully he's straight. And all that, and they bounce back. And but that is slip up. It was a slip up. On the road versus a tough team, in-state rivalry. Going to be tough and all that, but they finish off with Louisville. Virginia. Oh man, that Virginia game's gonna be nasty, man. Virginia, bro. What was the game? What did Virginia play last? It was like 48 to like.
Yeah, they put up like a stinker versus somebody, but I know
They
they
had
got
like
smacked by Virginia Tech, but they put up like something bad. I'll look at it right now.
it was Carolina. Yeah, Carolina. Yeah,
Oh
they
yeah,
had like 8 points.
54. Yeah, 54
They
to
had like
44.
they had like 12 points in the first half. That's just nasty basketball. But hey,
Nasty.
that's just I can't. I know we just talked, but is that sustainable to play that type of basketball?
No, not at all. It's no possible way. Just because, on top of the fact that I get it, right? Most coaches are stubborn, which they have the right to be, right? You kind of got to live and die with your morals. But at the same time, when you start off slow and a team starts to build a lead on you, when you're playing that slow, it's damn near impossible to get back into a game,
You
right?
can't.
Like, yeah, you have to get stops, which is the most important thing. And Virginia can't do that. They've clawed back into some games because of that. But at the end of the day, you got to get buckets too. The name of the game is putting the ball through the hoop first and foremost. And Virginia only has two guys that can consistently do that, and one isn't even as good as the first one is. Reese Beekman is a hell of a player, and then you have Ryan Dunn, and then it's a major drop off. And again,
Ryan Dunn can't shoot.
exactly. In the year they won that national championship in 2019, you had multiple bucket getters between Ty Jerome and Kyle Guy. You had Braxton Key. You had Mamadi Diakite, right? You had players. You had guys that could go. That backcourt between Ty Jerome and Kyle Guy was filthy, right? Not just because they could score, shoot from anywhere, they could play make like hell. They made other guys' lives easier. And so you don't have that. And it's not even a knock that you don't have a national championship team. It's just like, man, I give him credit because he's won a lot of games with this team that most people probably didn't expect him to. But at the same time, that style of play, I'm sorry, is just not durable. It's not at all.
It's not like he doesn't have guys too. Dunn
Yeah,
could hoop, Beekman could hoop, McKinley could hoop. And that's going 44. So they played North Carolina and scored what 44 points,
yep,
and then Virginia Tech they scored 41. We played Wisconsin earlier this year and had I think 40.
and lost that. Yep.
Lost that. I think they had another game where they had 40. You can't do that, and you can't. I'm sorry. There's something you got to change. I'm sorry. I get it. Defense is your thing, and I get it. Defense. All right. I'm so tired of that. You need to score. You need to play. At least pick up the damn pace.
Something.
You can't be playing this slow.
It's not it.
I don't know it. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what Bennett's doing. It's just not. First, forget about what the visual. Because the visual for the fan, whatever. Who cares about who the visual? But like for your players, like you could actually be hurting their like Ryan Dunn was coming in we were talking about he might be top 5 pick, and you might have cost him some M's. Reese Beekman was someone that was a prospect. Like people had him top 4. I had him on my board. I thought he's a hooper, and he could because he might just overshadow, and you see that he's. But if he's gonna be in the second round and all that, or not get drafted, you're gonna hurt his chances from the gate. I don't know. I don't get how you can. I know they're all their offensive categories. They're in the bottom. It's just bad. I know defensively they're the top 10 and everything. That's cool, but he's scoring 40 points. Like you said, you're gonna get in a hole. Even if you're at down 7, it feels like you're down 17
Exactly.
because the offense is just stuck in the freaking 90s, and it's just like, all right, you gotta change things up. Like, there's a reason why you lost in the first round a couple years back. I know that was what
Last year
2018
too.
and last year too, and then why everybody kept saying like you're in the same boat as Purdue, kind of like you were Purdue, and then but you won the chip, so now people kind of forget a little bit. But now you're bringing it back. It's like, oh, this is why y'all get bounced in the early. If you don't see that, I mean, why are you? It's just crazy how they keep staying. It's just wild.
I don't get it. Eventually, I mean, I don't know. It's been rumors that he's tired of this current landscape of the
Another one,
NCAA,
yeah.
but I don't. I mean, I don't know. Tony Bennett's got to get it together. Honestly, it's not.
He too young. I get
Yeah.
Izzo, Coach K, Roy. They just over there. I don't want to. I
No,
made
but
enough of
they're
them.
saying
So,
that he's just tired of this current landscape. Like he's not trying to recruit like that. He doesn't care about the poor like
it
that.
shows.
He got Trey Murphy out of there. He got a damn near NBA All Star out of there.
Yeah.
So
Well, it
I don't
shows
know.
recruiting and all that. I don't even know who they recruit.
We'll see, man.
You could blame. I can understand if you're not getting like really good players. And I get you got to play like you're like a mid-major school that's just got to play this type of way because you just don't have the talent. But you, Virginia, you got a national championship in the last 5 years. You've won 30 games and all that. This can't be it, but we'll see. If he tired of it, then go. Go. Some of your players might be like, finally, man, we get to actually get to run up and down the court, run this nasty offense we running. That's just 44 points, 41 points, 47 points, 54 versus Notre Dame. That's nasty.
Nasty,
41
bro.
versus what was the game they? Yeah, and they won a game scoring 49 versus Wake.
Yeah.
All right, I don't want to talk about them no more. That's just a whole bunch of nastiness, man. It's just I don't get it. But what else is on your mind, bro? What else we got? We're getting close. We're only 2 days away from March, and conference plays coming up and all that. What's on your mind right now? Teams, disappointments, players, coaches. What's on your mind?
Man, them Wisconsin Badgers are falling off a cliff right now. It just feels like ever since they had that loss at Nebraska where they started off hot as I don't know. I think AJ Store had like the first 10 points. They have just been in a downward spiral. They lost today again, as I mentioned earlier. They lost at Indiana. And to me, this team was clearly going into the season, they were clearly the second or third best team in the Big Ten to me. Just because they brought back a good majority of their core. The younger guys they had last year got a season older, right? And then you bring in AJ Store, who again to me has been one of the best transfers in the country. And then you lose this game, and I'm like, this is the problem with Big Ten coaches. They don't no, this is the thing too, right? When it comes to Izzo, going back to Izzo's teams are the only ones in the Big Ten that get better in March. So when the Big Ten loses Izzo, it's going to be a problem. Why? Because Chris Holtman got fired because he hasn't done anything in March. Brad Underwood is at Illinois, hasn't done anything in March. The Illinois fans are just praying to get to a Sweet 16. Purdue, we already know how that story goes, right? And so for Wisconsin, they are right now 10-7 in conference play. They're behind Purdue, Illinois, Northwestern, and Nebraska. And I'll go there real quick. Shout out to Fred Hoiberg and the Nebraska Cornhuskers, man, because they have been balling this year. That is an NCAA tournament team. I mentioned Reek Mask earlier in the show when it comes to big men. He's one of the best that probably only a few people know about. You know, CJ Wilcher, the older brother of Simeon Wilcher at St. John's, has been having an amazing season, right? You got Bryce Williams. It's a lot of talent on that team. I can't forget Japanese Steph Curry, Keisei Tominaga has been cooking, right? They've struggled on the road, but they've held it down at home court. They beat Purdue, beat my Spartans, beat Wisconsin.
And they could shoot it, and that's going to be scary with tournament time because they could shoot that, and they got multiple guys who shoot high percentages. So
yeah, right. They just have guys, and they're 17-1 at home, bro. 17-1. So again, big shout to Fred Hoiberg because that is not an easy job whatsoever, and you got to give him his credit for that. And then I got to give a humongous salute to the job that Amir Abdul Rahim has done at South Florida, bro, because this dude just took Kennesaw State to the NCAA tournament. Most people couldn't even tell you what state Kennesaw State is in. It's in Georgia. And then he goes from Kennesaw State to the AAC, who has Memphis and Florida Atlantic, amongst other teams. Charlotte's been good this year. SMU's been good this year. And they're in first place right now. They're 21-5, 14-2 at home, and 6-3 on the road. And they're more than likely going to be an NCAA tournament team. The job that he's done there in one season is amazing. He's going to be one of the biggest coaching. He's going to have one of the biggest coaching rises we've seen in a long time. I think he'll be at USF for probably another season, and then somebody's going to snag him away at the high major level. It's only a matter of time.
Easily.
It's only a matter of time. And so I got to salute to him, the Bulls, because, again, everybody going into the season expected FAU to be really good, and FAU still is good, but people thought FAU was going to run away with the conference, right? Not the case. John L. Davis is really good. You got other guys, but USF is right there. And then, of course, people thought Memphis was going, including myself. People thought Memphis. So obviously, they had the Caleb Mills injury. But for USF to be running the league the way that they are, and if y'all didn't get a chance to watch that USF versus Florida Atlantic game at USF, please go watch that because that was an amazing game. USF was up for most of the game. Florida Atlantic clawed back into it, and USF just shut the door within like the last 2 minutes. And so I got to give a huge shout out to Amir Abdul Rahim because his team has been playing at a high level all season long, and he deserves the love for that. And again, his climb has been amazing, and it's not going to stop at all anytime soon. And then, of course, I got to wrap up headed out west, the Mountain West, right? Honestly, feel like 6 teams are going to get in. I know people are kind of worried about New Mexico after that loss against Air Force, which is a brutal loss because that's the worst team in the Mountain West, second worst team after or before San Jose State. And I'm not worried about them just because that guard play is crazy. Donovan Dent, I'll tell you guys right now, put this on wax, Prezi. Donovan Dent is going to be a top 5 point guard in the country next season. He's already close to top 10 in my opinion right now, but next season I believe he'll be a junior. He's going to be a top 5 point guard in the country easily. I just see it. The way this dude finishes around the rim, he gets to a spot at will. He has that takeover ability. He makes guys better. He's clutch. He plays defense. And just the entire guard play on that team is crazy between Jalen House, Jamal Mashburn Jr., right? You got True Washington. They just got guys. Jamal Baker, whole bunch of guys that can go. And then you look at the rest of the conference. Obviously, Utah State is in first place right now. Boise State, I said earlier, that loss against Clemson early in the season was going to be a major change in their season, going to be a major turnaround in their season. And, of course, Max Rice had 30 against New Mexico at the pit. You got Tyson Dagenhart. You got a couple other guys. They're going to be dangerous. Can't forget about my Aztecs. You already know how that goes. I can make a case of the best team or best program on the West Coast right now. They're going to be fine. So a big salute to the Mountain West because they're miles ahead of what is the remains of the Pac-12 this season. So shout out to the Mountain West.
Yeah, Mountain West has done their thing and all that. Definitely, 5-6 teams possibly.
Yep.
Getting in. It's just, and we talked about them, Mountain West last show and all that. How they have more teams than going in the tournament than the Pac-12 and ACC combined. It's just they've been that good this year. So shout out to them and all that. New Mexico. Let's talk a little bit more about them.
Mm-hmm.
Now they had the bad loss versus Air Force, but it happens. It's unfortunate because they are a bottom tier team, but it happens. But overall, I mean, Patino, and we're going to talk about another Patino a little after this, but Richard, not donning the white suit like Pop, but you know, he's gotten the most out of these guys. Like I said, Dant's been hooping, topping. I think, and for a minute I thought he was related to the topping, and then I was like, nah, he don't even look like bros.
Yeah.
So, but he's got them going. But what's been the key to his success this season?
It's that guard play, bro. Like they literally have one of the best backcourts in the entire country. Again, Donovan Dent is a star. Jalen House is a dog. Jamal Mashburn Jr. can get a bucket from anywhere, no pun intended. Jamal Baker is a sniper. He's been in college for like 5 years. He's been at a whole bunch of different schools, right? He was at Fresno State. He was at Kentucky where he started his career off. He was at a whole bunch of places, right? And then you look at the front court, you got Mustafa Amzil, who was at Dayton. You have Nelly Jr. Joseph, who was playing for Rick Pitino at Iona last year. And to be honest, like they just know how to play. And again, this loss versus Air Force was tough, not just because it was Air Force, but also because it was at home. And the Pit is one of the best venues in all of college basketball, per what they say. And I agree with that for the most part. I want to go experience it myself, but you can't drop that game. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you can afford them sometimes, but not at that moment, not right now. Like if this was a few weeks ago, you would have been fine, right? It would have been a blemish on your resume, but you would have been fine. But heading towards March, just can't happen. But I still
Especially
believe in this
after a
team.
good dub too, a good
Yeah,
dub versus Colorado State, and then to follow at the crib. I think that's what got people like this team like because you got such a good win, versus Colorado State at the crib, and then you get a stinker and you lose to Air Force. It's like, damn, you needed that win versus Colorado State and you got it. Then you followed it with the worst thing they could do after a big win like that is lose to especially an academy school. Offense. Can't lose to the academy schools.
no, that's the one thing you could not do. And so, again, I'm not too worried about it. That loss is tough, but they just got to handle business the rest of the season and probably make a run in the Mountain West tournament. And hey, you can get an automatic bid if you win the Mountain West Conference tournament, right? That's a guaranteed bid. So if anybody could do it, I think them and a couple other teams could as well, but they have the firepower to do so. So I love that team, though. Lobos are really, really good this year. Richard Pitino, I mean, what? Coach is in his vein, it's in his blood, literally. He was destined to do this. I know he kind of flamed out in Minnesota, but I think he's found the perfect landing spot.
Minnesota's tough ass job. So like
Yeah,
I'm
and that's another
that's
guy I got to shout out too, though. Ben Johnson's done a great job there this year. He's
yeah.
done a great job this year, and so I credit him for that. But like you said, that's one of the tougher jobs, not just in the Big Ten, but in all of high major jobs. If
Mhm.
I'm just being honest, and so salute to Patino, doing a good job there, and I look forward to seeing them get into March Madness and making some noise. We'll see if they do.
Yeah. He's definitely done a solid job in Mexico. Like I said, didn't well, Minnesota's a tough job and all, but to bounce back. And then he got off to a tough start in New Mexico too.
Yeah,
So it was looking like, oh man, it's gonna be and year three. Usually, and that's where you should really know about the coach and the program is year three. And year three, he's done a good job. Tough loss for us. It's not what you want, but still got a few more games in the tournament to stamp him and get into the tournament and all that. So, but he's done a really good job with this program and all that and put him in the right direction. But let's talk about Pops quick. So we talked about how Pop, he said what he said about his squad and all that, and then like a true gangster, wore a white suit to the last game and got Dove versus Creighton and all that. And we talked about this like I wasn't mad when he said all that because I get the where he is and what he wants this program to be because this could be a program that it's in the heart of New York City and all that and could help bring back the college that college feel in New York because it's been definitely been lacking or even in the tri-state area period. But great win versus Creighton and all that. But we talked about for shows like reason why he said that is that they've left a lot of wins on it. And yes, this is the first year, but they still left a lot of wins, and that's why he got first. And you watch the Creighton game, and that probably irks him even more because it's like, guys, this is what I'm talking about. Look what we did. I didn't say what I said just to say it. I said it for a reason. We've left. Could it be UConn? We got a lot of potential wins that that we should have had. And we're a bubble team, and we're probably not in. We're definitely not in. They're probably definitely not in right now unless they make a run in the Big East tournament and upset some teams. Maybe they can, but essentially they probably got to win the whole damn thing to get in and all that. So like I look back, I look at what he said, and all. I'm like, I get it. You should be frustrated because you got to, and you beat Creighton. Creighton just beat UConn. They wiped them. They destroyed UConn. And we just talked about UConn. Like, yo, is it UConn versus the field? And what happens? UConn takes an L by 20, of course. So maybe we jinxing teams and all that. But and then they, St. John's goes, and beats Creighton. So it's like, I get why you say, yeah, we left leaving wins off the table. So but St. John, I know we talked about them a few times and all that, and maybe expectations were a little too much because Patino coming in, and we expect Patino to be, work his magic. But overall, just talking a successful season. Not as Rick. I know Rick Pitino. If you're Rick Pitino, it's probably a failure. But for St. John's, is this like, okay, this is a step. This is a step in the right direction.
1,000%.
I kind of feel like this is what like Dion in Colorado.
Yes,
1,000%. Like, with all the transfers and all that, like. He coming in a high profile coach. Roman is Patino essentially did the same thing. I'm bringing in my Louis Yao. Everybody was out except for Joel. So like, yeah, and then early season, what happened to Colorado? Early season success, they get ranked and all that. Then they come back to life and all that. But it still was a positive, even though it wasn't the results you wanted, it's still a positive season. So is that the same case for St. John's?
Yes, I think the perfect word is productive. I think it's been a productive season because if you really look at it, most of the roster obviously was constructed of transfers, but they didn't really have any guys that were transferring over from the high major level. Like Zuby was the only one that was at Kansas. Everybody else, for the most part, was like in the Ivy League and like in low level D1s. And there's nothing wrong with that because again, year one, you just have to kind of throw around the roster just to get ready for the next season. Now, I think with Simeon Wilcher, with Brady Dunlap, with a few other guys, they're going to build and they're going to get more transfers. They're going to build better facilities. They're going to have more NIL. They're going to have more support, and they're only going to get better. You got to think from Patino's perspective. I know, he's going to view it like how you did, like, yeah, whatever, we didn't make the tournament, it doesn't matter. But at the same time, you look at where St. John's has been in the past 2 decades almost. Like, let's be honest, right? It's a major upgrade. You have a competitive squad that you know is going to fight every single given night. With your coach, you know you're going to have a chance to win every single game. And it showed in this Creighton game. They led this game for almost the entire game. Denise Jenkins had 27 points, and he was unstoppable. He's been probably their MVP this year, right? He's been amazing for them. And so I believe, sadly, he's going to be done after this year, but at least you have something to build off of. And this is just the start, in my opinion. I think they're going to be a perennial threat for however long Patino is there for, 4 or 5 years, whatever it is. I mean, they're only going to get better, in my opinion. So I think people will start to take St. John seriously, and they'll start to understand that, hey, like, this dude is for real. He's trying to actually build something. And we all know Patino is New York through and through, so this ain't nothing new for him.
Yeah, and he's trying to build St. John's into, like, not just the basketball, but it's just the whole athletic department, because facilities-wise, it's kind of non-existent. Like, he didn't go there for the facilities, like, because there's other jobs. Maybe Iona has a better facilities and all that, because it's just not good and all that. The facilities wise and all, they don't have state of the art and all that, anything there. It's kind of just like we play at the Garden sometimes. And it's like they play in, I think, where their home court is in Jamaica, Queens. Jamaica, Queens is not a great area. It's just
they played that Seton Hall game at UBS Arena. You know where that's at?
Yeah, I know that. I've been there. It's a nice facility. That's in Long Island. So long. I've been there. I've been there a lot. It's a nice arena. It's where the Islanders play and all that. I've been there plenty of times. It's a nice facility and all that. But yeah, they got it because he I think Patino was getting at people getting at St. John's with their facilities. He's like, yeah, do we have crappy facilities? And then he said something worse than crappy. He's like, yeah, we do. So he's trying to change the whole everything there,
Mm-hmm.
and he knows it's gonna be, but sometimes you need someone like that to put pressure on it because it's like, yo,
Yep.
we a sleeping giant, and we
Yep.
just doing nothing. Y'all doing nothing. You in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
We got crappy. I remember just dudes had to take the train to go to games and stuff. That's not no. You gotta. Hey. So like, I think it has been a success. It's probably not in Patino's eyes. Definitely not because Patino like, no, I don't got that much many years left, and I thought we'd be in at least a bottom a 10 seed this year, but it's not gonna happen unless they have a run. But I think it's still. I think he's still got the city buzzing. I think there's still that energy, and like I think year two will be better because he'll have more of his guys and all that. Since he didn't even like his guys, you know. But like losing Joel would suck because you need having a big, especially in the Big East with all the you need that. But I think it's been a success, and I think a lot of people out here are happy that he's here and he's brought new energy and hopefully Dick because St. John's stuck in like they're facilities are trash. You know, I remember I got accepted to St. John's. I was supposed to work for the basketball, and I remember like we have facilities because they have a campus out here in Staten Island, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait, I got to go all the way to Queens and all that. Like, it was a disaster and all that. And it's like it's not like they have a football team too, so it's like, all right, we get it. Now you just got the basketball team. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it should be up to par. It's supposed to be like a prestigious, but that's why they haven't been good in a long time. So Patino coming in. So I think he did a good job, and hopefully it'll be cool if they can make a run, but I think overall success and then, you know, he knows how it is in the Big East. UConn ain't going nowhere. Villanova's not going anywhere, got Creighton still, you know. It's gonna be a
Marquette.
dogfight. Marquette, is still, got Seton Hall maybe on the come up. You know, we ain't talk about
Definitely.
DePaul. We ain't talk about DePaul.
Butler with Dad Mata. Oh
Everyone
yeah.
except for DePaul.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That's man. Sorry, DePaul. Sorry, DePaul,
We'll see
man.
what coach they get. They might get a game changing coach. We'll see.
Man, that's rough. I was looking at the schedule, just looking. I'm like, they did beat Louisville.
Congrats. Hang the banner.
Hang the banner. We beat Louisville. Oh man, I feel bad, man. DePaul. DePaul used to be all right. They used to be a growing up. They had who was Q Rich was there. I remember Q Rich was DePaul.
Mm-hmm.
They used to have some, but man, they lost. They have lost every game in the Big East play. I know Big East is tough, but how do you fix a job like that? We'll finish off with. I didn't think we would finish off with DePaul talk, but a job like that, where do you even start?
You start with the administration and say, hey, we're in Chicago. We're in one of the
That's what I'm
richest
saying,
basketball
man.
towns of
I
all
don't get
time.
it. I don't get it. If I don't get it. Chicago, any high major school in Chicago, in New York, Florida, Texas, California. Those are 5 states right there where I'm sorry, you can't be ass at basketball. You just can't.
Exactly. And
Can't. I'm
I'm
sorry.
pretty sure they need new facilities. And yeah, I guess you're competing against Illinois, and yeah, you got Northwestern there, but like you're still in the thick of Chicago, right? So with that, rumors have been swirling that Josh Sharks is going to take the job. He's the head coach at Indiana State right now. He's doing an amazing job there. He's built up a whole bunch of different levels. It might not be the most sexy hire, but I do think if you're talking about a guy that can come in there, build, and scrap all this stuff up like Patino's going to do at St. John's, I think he can do that. And I've heard rumors about Porter Moser want to go back to the Midwest too and leave Oklahoma. We'll see. Oklahoma's getting ready to go to the SEC. I don't know why he would do that, but I guess, he misses Illinois that much, leaving Loyola Chicago. But with that, DePaul to me is just like St. John's, a sleeping giant. Again, you're in Chicago. You're not even recruiting necessarily the same kids as your competitors in the Big East outside of Marquette. And Shaka recruits like a certain type of player, right? So with that, Like just the fact that you're in Chicago, that it tells me that their administration, their athletic department, they don't take seriously. That's just what it is. Clearly, right? I mistake me if I'm wrong. I don't believe they have a football program. They could. I could be wrong. I don't know that for a fact. But
I think
regardless,
so. I know
regardless,
there's a lot of Big East schools that don't have
yeah, yeah.
programs.
It's only like a few. I know UConn does, but you're again, bro. I cannot emphasize enough. You're in Chicago, Illinois. You're
Yeah,
in
they don't have a football team.
exactly. So all your resources should be going to
This is what I say
basketball.
about St. John's. How is it not focused on like you don't got a football team? I know if you have a football team, I get it because football is king, and I
Mhm.
get it. I get it. But if you just got, hey, all resources go to that because that's where our money's gonna be. That's how we're gonna get better facility. That we're gonna get better building.
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't get. I don't get certs. I don't get schools,
It
man.
doesn't make any sense to me. We'll see how it plays out. I'm hoping the best for them and their fan base because they've been through enough. They've been in the gutter for a long
Hell,
time.
hell.
And, they had Anissa Morrow who's doing her thing right now at LSU with Angel Reese and them on the women's side, but it's been bad. So I think Josh Hurts would be a great hire. I think they have a couple other good candidates, but if we're being honest, they're probably at the bottom when it comes to job openings this year, right? Because you're going to have people flocking to West Virginia. You're going to have dudes flocking to Ohio State. Another job's probably going to come open based off whoever gets those two jobs, right? It's probably going to be a job or two that surprise open. People are saying Dana Altman might retire at Oregon. People are saying Leonard Hamilton might retire at Florida State. Those are two great jobs, right? So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, DePaul has got to get together. You're in arguably the best basketball conference in Division One. You got to do something because right now you're just holding the conference back.
Exactly, especially being in the Big East. If you're in whatever other conference, any lower tier, mid-major conference, I get it. But you're in the Big East, man. You gotta
Mhm.
represent. Because it seems
Somehow,
like everybody else, even Butler, hey, that Mount got them boys doing something, and he
yeah,
hasn't coached in a minute.
exactly.
Like you said, you're in Chicago. Listen, I get Illinois, but they don't represent Chicago though. They
Nah,
just do you think the poll is like, oh, that's Chicago? Like everybody said that. I remember Q Rich kept every time he's like, yo, DePaul, that's Chicago. Like we shouldn't be this down. Losing season after losing. Like there has to be an identity. You got to get in the heart of that. And that's why you got to find a coach that identifies with the city. It's like St. John's. You had to find the right coach that identifies with the city and Patino and all that. I don't know. It just as a college basketball fan, I just suck seeing DePaul. Like they are I say 0-18, 0-16 in Big East play. Like
hmm
that's no, that's not cool. I don't like that. That's just not cool. That's just unacceptable. But I know it's a tough job, but man, it's bad. Tony Stubblefield was what 3-20? Yeah, he was 3-24 before he got fired. And overall, he had 28 wins. 28 wins. Tough. Hopefully they can figure it out. But that's an administrative thing, yeah, for sure. So we'll see what happens. But capped it off with the ball talk and all that. But that's another episode of Get a Bucket podcast. March Madness is approaching real quick. It's just a few days away as we get closer to conference tournament play and all that. We'll dive into more stuff and get ready for March Madness. Can't wait. We'll be doing brackets, bracketology, doing our own brackets. We'll do off the ball network bracket challenge and all that. Last one we did, we had like thousands, I think, which is kind of wild. We had thousands. I was in the bottom. I messed up. I think my final four was out like in the second round, but but another one in the books, Kev.
Yes, sir, man. Another great one. As always, appreciate y'all for tuning in. Stay locked in. Like Prezi said, March is right around the corner, literally. It's the most wonderful time of the year for myself. And I can't wait, man. Hope y'all stay locked in. Stay tuned in. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Make sure to check out all the great work off the Bull Network. Uh, make sure to SeatGeek.com, $20 off your first purchase. Go check out all the great work, sponsorships, all the great shows. We got trivia, all that, off the ball podcast, Up in Flames, Competitive Hedge, all that. Check out all the good work. Hooper's Pod. Make sure to check him out. Check out Nick and all the stuff he's doing. But I know, be well, be safe, take care. Peace out.
Peace.